The cartwheels had a small squeak that I never got around to fixing. 3 years on the executive floor at Aldenvale Capital, and every morning at 6:50 that squeak announced me. Down the corridor, past the glass-walled conference rooms, through the double doors, to the East Wing, where Diane Merritt's team arrived, before the sun cleared the parking structure. They knew the sound the way you know a neighbor's car. They just didn't know me. That was all right. I had coffee, orange juice, a tray of pastries, and Sam to pick up by 3. That was enough for a morning. I was filling the silver urn at the credenza when Diane came through with her chief of staff, Paula, and 2 people from finance whose names I hadn't caught yet. She was dressed the way she always dressed. Sharp, unhurried, the kind of polish that made a room rearrange itself. She set her bag on the conference table and said, without looking up, "The gala is 6 weeks out and I still haven't found him." Paula said, "Legal's tried every angle. The transfer was anonymous on purpose. I know it was on purpose." Diane pulled out her chair and sat. "He didn't want to be found. I've respected that for 17 years. True. But the company is 17 years old, and I am going to stand in that ballroom and thank the man who made it possible, even if I have to thank an empty chair." I set the creamer down without a sound and pushed the cart back toward the doors. "Being in that room, in a manner of speaking. Not this room, not this glass and marble building with its lobby fountain and its underground parking. The room I'd been in was a folding chair circle in a community business council on a Tuesday night 17 years ago, 6 months after my wife, Carol, passed. A woman in her early 30s stood up with a 1-page business plan and a voice that didn't waver once. She talked about a gap she'd seen in regional investment management. The kind of gap that sounds obvious once someone aims it and invisible until they do. She talked about the clients she wanted to serve and the way she intended to serve them. She did not ask for anything. She just laid it out, plain and clear, and then she sat down. I was a machinist at the time, good at my work, careful with money, not a wealthy man by any definition. Carol had left a modest life insurance policy, and it had been sitting in a drawer for 6 months because I didn't know yet what to do with it. You don't rush those decisions. You wait until something feels right. On the drive home that night, something felt right. I didn't know the woman's name. I'd written it on a napkin and lost the napkin. What I had was the name of her business. Aldenvale Capital didn't exist yet except on that 1-page plan, and the eon she'd registered 2 weeks before, which she'd mentioned as proof she was serious. $40,000 was most of what I had. I wired it the next morning. I marked the transmorphums because it wasn't a loan and it wasn't an investment, not technically. It was just a bet on a person. You don't put your name on a bet like that. You either believe in someone or you don't, and if you do, you let them run. I did not follow what happened to Aldenvale Capital. I went back to my life, and my life went quiet for a while, which is what a life does when it's healing. I raised Sam. I changed jobs a few times. I ended up here 3 years ago. The cafeteria position had benefits, and I needed benefits. And the first time I rolled the cart into that East Wing conference room and saw the name on the door, I stood in the hallway for a long moment. She'd done it. She had built the whole thing. I went in and poured the coffee. She never looked at my face the way you look at someone you're trying to place. Why would she? The wire had come from a machinist's personal account at a credit union in another part of the state, under a name she'd never been given. She was a founder with a company that runs, and a schedule that started at 6:50 in the morning. I was the man with the squeaky cart. That was fine. I hadn't done it to be remembered. The gala was at the Harland Hotel on a Friday night, Pete, and the catering company brought me in to help work the room. Familiar faces from event staff I knew, short tables near the windows, linen the color of cream. I was assigned the coffee and water station near the low platform where the speakers would stand. I filled cups, swapped carafes, stayed out of the way. Sam was at his friend Tyler's for the night. I told him I had a work event. He said, "Don't stay too late, Dad." Which was the kind of thing a 13-year-old says when he's practicing being the responsible one, and it made me smile all the way to the hotel. The room filled. Aldenvale Capital had 300 employees and a guest list that doubled it. Diane moved through the crowd the way she moved through her mornings. Measured, present, never hurried. At 8 o'clock she stepped to the platform. She thanked her team first. The ones who'd been there from the early years. She named a few of them, and they stood, and the room clapped with the warmth of people who meant it. Then she paused. 17 years ago, she said, I had a plan and an EIN and a desk in my spare bedroom. I had applied to 11 small business lending programs and heard back from 4 of them. The answer was the same each time. She didn't explain what the answer had been. She didn't need to. Then one morning, I opened my account, and there was $40,000 in it. Anonymous transfer. No note. The room was quiet. I have spent 17 years wondering who that was. My lawyers have looked. My accountant has looked. I've looked. She smiled. And it was a real smile, the kind that has something behind it. Whoever you are, if you're in this room, if you're watching this somehow, I want you to know that I have thought about you on every hard day this company has ever had. Every time I wasn't sure we were going to make it, I thought. Someone believed in this before there was anything to believe in. Someone put their money on a folding chair and a one-page plan and a woman they didn't know. Her voice stayed even. She was that kind of woman. I would give anything just to say thank you. I was holding a carafe. I set it down on the linen carefully, the way you set something down when your hands need a moment to be still. A woman near me noticed and glanced over. I wasn't sure what my face was doing. I straightened up and looked at the platform. Diane was stepping back from the microphone. Paula was moving forward to close the program. I did not say anything. Not then. Treat. There were 300 people in that room, and a woman who'd just been honest in front of all of them. And whatever I had to say didn't belong in a ballroom with catering lights and applause. I refilled the cups near me and worked the rest of the evening quietly, and when the last guests thinned out, I collected my jacket from the back room, walked to my truck. I sat in the parking garage for a while thinking. I'm not a man who acts impulsively. I wasn't then. I'd taken a night's sleep before making a $40,000 wire transfer, even when I'd known on the drive home that I would. That's just how I was built. You feel the thing clearly and then you sit with it until you're sure. By the time I got to Tyler's to pick up Sam, was sure. Saturday morning I came in on my own time, no cart, just a cup from the coffee place downstairs. The executive floor was empty except for the weekend security and one light on in the corner office. Diane's. She worked Saturdays. I'd seen it on enough Monday mornings, the logs that showed access from the night before. I knocked on the open door. She looked up from her desk, and there was a half-second where she was placing me. The cart, the coffee, the squeak in the wheels, and then she said, Ray, you're not on today. No, I said, I'm not. She waited. That was one of her gifts. She knew how to give a person room. The transfer reference number, I said, AC-047-November. I'd memorized it the morning I made it. The way you memorize the things you need to remember in the absence of a note. Your credit union at the time would have it on file under that code. The originating account was at First Lowland Federal. The branch is closed now, but the records exist. She went very still. It was a Tuesday night, I said. Community Business Council, folding chairs. You had a one-page plan and you didn't ask anyone for anything. You just laid it out and sat down. I looked at my cup. My wife had passed 6 months before. I was looking for something that felt right. I glanced back up. It felt right. Diane Merritt stood up slowly from her desk. She was not a woman who cried in front of people, and she didn't now, but something changed in her face. A kind of settling, like a question that had been held at arm's length for 17 years finally came to rest. You've been here 3 years, she said. Yes. You've been pouring my coffee. And the orange juice, I said. Most mornings. She made a small sound that might have been a laugh, something close to one. Then she said, why didn't you? And stopped herself, because I think she already knew. You built it, I said. I didn't do that. You did. We stood there a moment, the two of us, in the quiet of an empty office on a Saturday morning. And it was one of those moments that doesn't need anything added to it. She asked if she could take me to breakfast. I told her I had trust Sam in the truck. He'd come along for the ride, the way he sometimes did on Saturday errands, headphones in, unbothered. And without hesitating, she said to bring him up. She had a conference room full of pastries from the Gala that no one had touched. Sam ate 3 of them and told Diane's, very seriously, that she had a nice office view. She thanked him, just as seriously, and asked what he thought of the building's lobby fountain. He thought about it. Could be bigger, he said. She laughed, a real one this time, and looked at me across the table, and I looked back. 17 years is a long time to carry a quiet thing. But some things are worth carrying quietly, and some mornings, you set them down in exactly the right room.